So, downward facing dog or adho mukha svanasana. Today I'm using the help of my chair. If you don't have a chair, you can also use the wall instead. So, going over a couple of things that we can work on to improve how we feel in our downward facing dog. So, we've got some important things we need to focus on. First of all, our hands and strong wrists, our shoulders and having enough shoulder mobility, thinking about our lower belly and lower ribs, and then finally we chat a little bit about length in the back of the legs, just knowing that that's kind of our last thing. First things first, let's talk about our hands. I just can't tell you how important this is here. So freeing up the wrists a little bit, think about turning the fingers down, turning them up. We are stretching and strengthening muscles in our forearm as we do this. We can also place them down on the floor, come to a tabletop, and just kind of rock your shoulders over your wrists, kind of around in circles here. Now, I can't stress you how important it is. This little L shape here, called our thenar eminence, press it down into the floor. So practice spreading your fingers. I always see a lot this pointer finger knuckle coming up off the floor here. That puts a lot of weight onto our ulnar, which is our least strong bone in our arm. So when we press that pointer finger knuckle down hard into the floor, press all our knuckles down hard into the floor, we're putting more weight in the stronger bone, our radius. So have a play with really pressing your hands down just in a tabletop here. The next thing we can think about is our ribs. So I'm going to make my shirt nice and tight here so you can notice what's going on in my abdomen, in my ribs here. And so when I'm being pretty chill and arms rolled forward and I lift my arms up over my head, notice how my ribs flare out and my belly kind of opens up here. I've got a big bend in my back. So if I turn my ab muscles on, think about shortening the space between my hips and the bottoms of my ribs. Maybe I don't have as much range of motion here, but the movement actually comes from my shoulders rather than like this kind of all over the place. So the next thing we can do to work on this range of motion is jumping into our child's pose, sitting back on our heels, reach the arms out in front. See how I've got my ears sandwiched between my biceps? Thinking about nice strong arms here, active hands, active arms. Looking for a nice long line between our fingertips and hips. Once you feel pretty good there with hands on the floor, place your hands on some blocks and have a play with really pressing your sternum down toward the floor. Our next step here is one by one, lifting one arm up off the floor, letting the movement come from just the shoulder. Another thing we can play with, now if you don't have a chair, place your hands flat on the wall. Otherwise, keeping your wrists about in line with your shoulders. Now watch here, I'm super flexible. Watch that you don't let all this bending come from your back, being super lazy. Think about a strong tummy, strong chest, and letting all the movement here come from your shoulders. Nice job. Now our next step up here, again, if you don't have a chair, use the wall. We're looking to make this shape with our upper body, but find a little length in our hamstrings. So I've got my hands on the back of the chair. I step back a little bit. I'm making like an L shape with my body here, looking for that same nice long line from my hips to my fingertips, just like in that child's pose. Now, if you're feeling a bit tight, a bit tense through the backs of the legs here, bend the knees. And remember, just like before, we're not getting lazy through the back. Thinking about pressing the hands down into your chair. And next, to find some length in the backs of the legs here, we can have a play with our forward fold, our uttanasana, bending and straightening the legs, kind of finding that sweet spot. Nice job. Now, after you've had a play with all these, try your downward facing dog again. Putting all these elements together. So spread out the fingers, press each knuckle down into the floor, thinking about our biceps being around our ears. And remember, we can come up high on the toes. If you feel rounded like this, come up high on the toes, bend the knees quite generously, and press the chest back toward the thighs here. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope these exercises help you a little bit. Have an awesome day and take care.